episode for you guys out here that's part of the nation. Let's get this thing going one way or another. We're going to talk about this recap. We're going to talk about these Cowboys. We're going to get this thing going in the right direction. I have my guy DDP here. He's in the mix.
What up?
Yes. Let's talk some Cowboys, man.
Absolutely,
yes,
man. We got some momentum. It's a little bit nice. It's kind of encouraging doing these shows lately when they're winning.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's very encouraging, especially when we are dominating on the defensive side of the ball. If we can say that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think it's been a couple weeks since we've both been on the show. So at the time, we were coming off the Tennessee loss. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been a complete turnaround for as far as our at least two-man setup here for the show. But definitely, some things are starting to come together for the offense. I think that's a lot to do with the adjustments they've made for the offensive line and how they're blocking. And also, I don't think we can undersell enough, even though the numbers haven't exploded off the page by any means. The Amari Cooper effect is real. It is changing how defenses have to guard against us, which is opening up other things in the offense for us.
Yeah, so I mean, did Amari Cooper? When you got to account for a guy that's over the top, you know, the safety got a roll coverage to his side, and then you got the underneath guy. What that do? It does create holes for Ezekiel Elliott, and we see that. And then also, you move 52 out of there.
Yep.
What do you feel about that, man? What do you feel about that left guard being gone from this team?
I like his future a lot. Speaking of Connor Williams, I like his future a lot, but he has been very up and down this year. He is a little light in the britches as far as what your interior lineman typically is. I would actually say, depending on how much kind of weight and muscle and everything, just general mass they can put on him in the offseason, I would actually be encouraged to see him next year in camp running right tackle with Collins back inside. I think that would be a better fit overall. And Stephen Jones even said on The Fan, I think last week, that is something they would be open to exploring in the offseason.
That would be nice, because if you look at just the size, the eyeball test, you would think that, hey, number 71, La'el Collins, is a guard. You know,
yeah,
and we have yet to see like the La'el Collins of the 2015 and 16 when he was just mauling over guys, pushing people down, and just putting his body weight on top of the opposition. We love to see that, but we're seeing a little bit from number 76. I think that he's stronger than Connor Williams. I think that he's having a more of aggressive tone. Now, this could be the coaching. This could be Mark Colombo, but
that's part of it, I think.
Yeah, that's part of it, but strength is strength, and we have yet to see these first 6 games that Connor Williams played that he actually just took over a guy and put him down in the dirt. We saw him toss some people away with technique, but just not that brute strength that's in the inside.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But I do think that's part of it. I think as well it's the return to technique-wise, what they were doing prior to this year. Makes it a confusing hire, you would think, with Alexander, if they're changing the technique of the offensive line when it had been one of the better offensive lines. Now, the previous year, it was a disappointment, and I think it was one of the big issues with the team. But it is interesting to try and reinvent an offensive line that had been using one technique at a very high level not that long ago. But that's a different matter. They're working back with what they're more comfortable with. And it's definitely something that has helped reinvigorate this running game, if nothing else. And that opens up other facets as well.
Yes, indeed. And thank everybody for tuning in. We are here live at Okoye Media's page, Vaj Lombardi's page, DDP, the Dallas Prospect. Every legend was once a prospect, as well as the Cowboys Experience, where you all can just go and get tons of experience with meeting current and former players that played for the Cowboys. We got an important event that's coming around the corner on Wednesday. I would love to see each and every last one of you guys, especially those beautiful faces that's going to be out there, going to the event that's in Lava Cantina, that's in the Colony in Plano. I would love to see you guys out there. Just come on out and enjoy yourself before the Thanksgiving Day game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a blast when we're out there. We always have, there's a mix of current players and usually one or two retired players as well. Like we've had Drew Pearson on the show before. It's really cool. Nice meet and greet, lots of Cowboys merch and all of that. And just a really good time with a bunch of Cowboy fans. We like to just kind of patrol around the area, talk with some of the other Cowboy fans there. We had people, I think the last one I went to, the Cowboys UK fan club was there. Like came all the way over from the UK. I was like, man, that is dedication to your team. Absolutely. And, you know, it's cool just meeting other Cowboy fans from different walks of life in that way.
Yes, indeed. And I just want to give a quick shout out, if you don't mind, Cowboys Nation. Shout out to Jordan Reed for making the donation to help grow the nation. He says, what's the news on our left tackle, Law? He got hurt, and at the end of the Atlanta game. Do you have anything on that?
All I know is that Tyron claims he will be ready at full capacity, whatever, come Thursday. So that's I don't know the details of it specifically. I just know that he said he will be ready and full go Thursday.
That sounds good. I know he normally have a Romo Wednesdays, right, or Tyron Wednesdays now. So would they kind of convert that to Tuesday? He's not practicing something like that, or
for the short week, yeah, they'll have to. Yeah, I doubt he practices at all this week. Obviously, with the super short week now and him tweaking. What was it he even injured? Was it his back again? Was it an ankle? I saw him go out of the game, but I didn't see exactly what it was that the report was on the injury. But regardless, it's encouraging. He's at least going to give it a go. We don't have a Byron Bell or a Chaz Green on the roster anymore, but we are already using one replacement lineman. And he's been playing well, but you don't want to have to go to the well more times than necessary because eventually it's going to come up dry.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Jordan Reed, for that information, though, or requesting that information. All right, so what jumped out to you against the Atlanta Falcons?
Oh man, well, a lot of trends for the Cowboys. I think that might have been the first top 10 offense they faced this year, and for them to hold them, at home, Atlanta averages about 30 points a game and 400 yards. So to hold them to 19 points, 1 touchdown, no less, and 350 yards, you held them well below their averages offensively. So that shows your defense doing work. And obviously holding them to that many field goals shows that even though Atlanta could move the ball, the defense always held. And for the most part, that's been the whole trend this season is the defense, even if they bend a little bit, they're very good at reinforcing things once you get into like the Cowboys 30 and especially the red zone, making them have to settle for field goals and things like that. And even if you look at the guy, if anyone looking at the thumbnail, I got Julio Jones in there as well. Julio, yeah, he had a big game for sure. He had, 7 catches for 118 yards, I think, or 6 catches for 118 and a touchdown. His season averages were 6 catches, 115 yards, I think. So basically, he did his thing, but he didn't do, it's not like he went off against you. He did against you what he's done against everyone else. And even third down, Atlanta was a phenomenal third down offense. And yeah, I'm not bragging, hey, 6 of 12, 50%, but it's below their average. So at the very least, you held them in check in some areas, and in other areas, you held them well below their averages. So it's a solid defensive performance.
Yeah, so I heard a weird stat out there that Byron Jones only allowed 2 catches on him for 22 yards or something like that. Could be off a little bit. But Byron Jones doing his deal. And I love Cheeto Awuzie. I feel that, to me personally, I love press cover corners, but that's just not his strong suit for this season. We've seen so many passes that was caught on him that was just like, if you got this close to getting the ball out or this close from catching the interception. But he got to learn to turn his head. You got to get his head around to the ball. And also with that, Julio is Julio, of course. But we got to figure out a way that, because we're going to have some explosive guys coming down the line, not to overlook the Washington team. We're going to have Drew Brees coming to the house. And one can argue the fact that he know how to put the ball on the money. And I can only think and imagine that they're going to test him again and again and again. So he got to learn to get his head around to the ball.
Yeah, Cheeto definitely has a lot of room to grow. He's always in good position But as you said, he doesn't get his head around, and that allows him to get burned a little more often. I see Okoye jumping in here as well. What up, Okoye?
What's up? What's up? What's up, Darreck?
What's
How you
going on
doing?
with you, fam? Shout out to you, man. Shout out
What up,
to
Law?
David Alexander, too, as well. He made another donation to help grow the nation. Appreciate you, man. But, Koye, what's good, fam?
Oh, man, I'm good, man. How you?
Oh, man, I'm great, man. Let me see if I can get you around for this camera, too. So, what's your thought on this game altogether collectively?
I think at this point we're playing the way we should have been playing, I think, earlier in the season with urgency, it seems. But beyond that, I think the addition of Xavier Suafilo, I think is really being a difference maker in allowing Dak to reset his clock. So now Dak's able to stand back. I mean, I'm watching his film and he's taking, like, he'll take his 7-step drop, but then he'll take 2 more steps this direction.
Right.
And he takes steps this direction. I've counted. He had like 14 steps on one play. Like, he gets those now. And he wasn't getting those earlier in the year. So, honestly, he was better earlier in the year than he is now. That's just honest. And that's not saying he's good either. I'm just saying his footwork was better. In the Seattle game, if you watch it, he was taking 5-step drops, getting the ball out. There just wasn't, much for him to do with it. And he wasn't very accurate when he did it, but he was his footwork was together, maybe because of training camp. Now his footwork is all over the place, but he has the time because the offensive line is playing that good.
Yeah, so that's what I saw too with his game. I'm thinking that he's still developing rapport with Amari Cooper. I did saw a play that I wish that he would have hit the guy that was running down the seam, but at the end of the day, I like to focus everything, and I mean absolutely everything, behind Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on you, DDP, on Dak Prescott game? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Okoye is right. He's absolutely been extremely happy-footed the past several weeks, and part of that, I agree, is he's gotten away from training camp, and so some of his fundamentals have lacked. I also think that he's put more pressure on himself, given we've seen him trying to do too much on plays, trying to keep plays alive, even when he's like wrapped up in the defender's arms, and then he's fumbling at the goal line, or he's taking a crucial fumble at midfield, like the Titans game. So I think there's a combination of factors there for sure, and he's been better the last couple of weeks, but that's not to say that he's still been great. But he's doing enough to win. He's making enough winning plays, or at least negating enough of the bad plays, that with the way the rest of the offense and everything is running lately, you can win that way. And that's what they have to focus on. This isn't as good of Dak Prescott as we saw in 2016, I don't think, but it's good enough for now.
No doubt, no doubt. So with that being said, shout out to Money Making Maher. He says, Okoye, man, you looking good because you got a clear camera now, man. Shout out to you, man.
Same camera.
We got some light up in this room, huh?
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
There's some light up in here, man. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so what is your biggest takeaway, Okoye, whether it be offense or defense, beyond Dak Prescott? But what is your biggest takeaway on this Dallas Cowboys team that we just don't like? We love this team. What is your biggest takeaway?
Well, for me, I think the fact that the Redskins just lost Alex Smith. It's like, I feel like it's the right time for us to start playing well, or start playing within ourselves. It looks like they've kind of taken on the challenge of not wanting to lose their jobs or their status in the off season. And it's like everybody's rallying together behind that. And it seems that way. But the fact that they're playing aggressive like that at a time when the Redskins are like hurling for it, trying to hold on to the first spot, and we have to play them this week. It's just aligning for us where our destiny is really in our own hands. I think there's definitely a couple more games out there that we probably, just really won't compete in. But I said yesterday, like, we're a team that beats some of the teams that we're not supposed to beat. and loses to teams that we're supposed to beat. So that's what a middle of the pack team does. Like we're like a 9-7 type team, 8-8 type team right now, and that's those types of teams do that.
Yes, indeed. So this is the thing I take away from that. Come Thursday, if we do not take over that game, if we still look like what we played against, I guess you can say the Titans, or we look like what we played against another team that we should have won. I think the Houston Texans. If we just go out there and play like that, I would be really upset, extremely upset.
Right.
What you got, DDP?
I mean, the only game that they've lost by double digit, I think, this year is the Titans game, right?
Right, but I'm talking about the overall performance. Yeah. If they look like that, I'm gonna be really upset.
If they lay another egg like the Titans game, then that's going to be catastrophic for this team. Yes, I know that the Redskins lost Alex Smith for the rest of the year. And by the way, if you guys haven't looked into the similarities between that and the Theismann injury, there are quite a few of them. It's almost eerie.
Yeah,
but it would be disastrous for them in terms of momentum and morale, because we've seen this a couple times this year. They fight to get back to right about 500 or the chance to get back to 500, and then they lay an egg, and then it's like, okay, back down to the bottom of the hill, and you got to try and build back to 500 again. You're really out of time at this point. This is if you lose 2-0 in the division to the Redskins, and you add in the fact that at that point they'll move to what the Redskins will be 7-4 at that point. I mean, there's really no way to catch them at that point realistically, unless they just completely bottom out, because Dallas at that point would be 5-6 again and not have any kind of tiebreaker advantage. So, or at least a neutral field in that way. So,
right.
It's interesting. They definitely can't afford another Tennessee game.
Right. And this is another thing that is just surprising me. I'm talking to you guys, and I'm also looking at this Kansas City Chiefs versus the LA Rams game. It's 60 points out there if you combine the two. I just don't think that Dallas Cowboys will allow. I'm not saying the Cowboys are better than the Rams or the Chiefs right now, but I just don't see a team putting up this type of numbers against the Cowboys. On largely because of this right here. We win time of possession when we run the ball with Ezekiel Elliott. We have a 90s type of style, 90s type of flow. And then on top of that, our defense, LVE, Byron Jones in the 94. Go back to look at this film that I'm going to show you guys a little later on. It should come out sometime tonight. 94, creating pressure. He might not get the sack, but he's creating pressure off that side. And I know you, Okoye. You probably saw number 51. Creating pressure up the middle. That interception, a lot of people was like, hey, LVE just caught that ball, bounces off the body of number 18 against the opposition. But what created most of that, the intangible, the things that we just don't see, was number 51.
Yeah.
Creating pressure in the inside, up the middle.
Yeah.
And then we already know what D-Law is doing. That front four, and these are just interchangeable guys. 51, we rarely hear of him all offseason. All of a sudden, he's doing things. So this team can hold an Atlanta Falcons at their home. They averaged 32 points a game. We held them to only one touchdown. That's remarkable to me.
Hey, there's definitely some nice poetry as well to that interception you referenced for Leighton Vander Esch, because who was the guy that it bounced off the hands of? It was Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
So the guy that a lot of fans felt we should have taken, and I mean, we were on a different guy as far as what we were pushing for on draft night, but definitely gladly will admit I was wrong on LVE for sure. But yeah, off Calvin Ridley's hands, I don't know if he saw his own guy coming in and didn't. I don't know. It was weird. It kind of looked like he T-Rex armed it a little bit, and it goes just right off his hands. Credit to LVE, because I think it deflects off another player before it gets to him.
Anthony Brown,
just quick bang bang play, hauls it in and gets like another 20 yards running it back the other way. Man, he moves better in open field than our tight ends do.
Put him at safety, man.
Speaking of which, you guys see that Swaim is out with wrist surgery now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He broke his wrist.
Yep. Crazy. They do think he could potentially return before the end of the regular season, but yeah, there's no timetable yet set for that. So interesting, because I was thinking in the game, he's not producing big numbers, but he is at least he feels like he's starting to kind of settle into at least look like the consistent starter there.
Did any of you guys saw this movie? I think it was, I know you're a movie buff, Okoye, with the guy Bruce Willis. He plays in a movie where his bones never break.
Unbreakable?
Unbreakable. That's what Jason Witten was then. Because why Jason Witten never had these little freakish type of, I broke my wrist,
his
or I pulled my
exploded.
Yeah, but he was just ready to play. I'm ready to play the next game,
Yeah,
after a busted spleen. Maybe
broken jaw made him miss like one game as a rookie, and he never missed again.
So did he miss a game after he?
Yeah, I think he missed the first. Yeah, spleen, no, because that happened in the preseason. Yeah,
he played.
It was just the broken jaw rookie year that he missed one game for.
Yep. Man, if somebody just needs to see what Jason Witten been eating, all this stuff, and see if they can get some of that.
Tough, man. They don't make him like that no more, man. I don't know what he made of. He got I don't know. He got like diesel fluid going through his veins or something, man.
Man, it's crazy. Cause that's the only problem.
He's a machine.
He is a machine, man. Hey, I wish that Sean Lee had Jason Witten health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of Sean Lee, guys, are you with the belief? Because I think it was Stephen Jones or Jerry Jones, one of the two. Do you believe this is the writing on the wall for Sean Lee, or do you believe that when Sean Lee gets back into the mix, that you split reps between Sean Lee and LVE and Jalen Smith?
I think it got to be done. Put Sean Lee in when you're running your base formation, and that's it. When you're going into your nickel and so on, and certain sub packages, but for the most part, they should run with Leighton and Jalen the way they're playing, and they're full tilt. There's no, and I think they're more rangy. Sean Lee's a different linebacker. He's good in space, but I think he's better. Just sort of like a Troy Polamalu type, just reading and assessing and doing his thing. He does whatever he wants. So that's not like that in this cover three. You have to really chase down and run underneath wide receivers all day long. That's all we're doing. And his hamstrings can't hold up for that. It doesn't look like.
Definitely. I agree. And if they were to part with him in the offseason, they save $7.5 million in the process. So that's extra motive there. At this point, it's got to be, bringing him in kind of like you said in certain packages, more so figuratively speaking off the bench if you want to, A, preserve him and get something out of him the rest of the way. And B, it feels like the time for Leighton to take over the majority of the snaps at this point. He's already got over 100 tackles on the season.
This question for both of you guys. Since we're going to have a lot of money, and I hate to just go ahead and look for the next year, what would you do? Do you sign the guys that you already have, like the D-Laws of the world? Do you sure up Byron Jones? Or do you go out there and you say, okay, I'm going to go out there and sprinkle some more guys that's out there in free agency and see what we can do? What you do with that money that we have left over?
I mean, I know they're going to shore up the guys that have proven to be loyal, like a Byron Jones type guy. I see a contract in his future. Cowboys like to grow and keep their own because I think only certain players can fit with Jerry Jones's personality. So he hasn't been big on bringing in, those splash free agents with poor personalities lately. I think Greg Hardy kind of fixed them with that. But maybe he goes out and grabs somebody. But I think he shores these guys up. Like D-Law's not going anywhere. Hold on, fellas. This is my wife. I had to go pick up my daughter. Let me jump off in.
Go ahead,
I'll jump in. I agree entirely, Dallas. What I would do versus what they would do, not necessarily the same thing, but we know from history that they're going to sign to keep their own guys. So that's going to be your D-Laws. They'll probably give Byron a new deal. And I would advise that at this point anyway, for his play. He might not be a guy that ever gets you turnovers. We know that. I mentioned to you in a group text earlier today, LVE in 9 games has more interceptions now than Byron Jones in 51.
Right.
But he's still a very good cornerback this year, very tough to throw against. Definitely makes you wonder why they've moved him around so much up to this point. But they're going to do that, and if they were to look outside at all, they would probably, I don't want to say they would go bargain bin shopping. We've seen that I hate that. But I do think that maybe they would be willing to still kick the tires on something like an Earl Thomas or something, especially now they think the value might be dropping just a little bit. But it's just one of those things. They're going to spend most of the money in-house because they're still trying to plan for other guys too. The next few years, you've got next 2 or 3 years, you're going to have guys like Zeke and Dak and Jalen also coming up for new deals. So they're going to have to manage this still smart going forward. They can't just throw a bunch of money now because they have it and not feel consequences on the back end for it.
I can't remember. I think you may have touched on this before. Do Jalen contract, was it, I guess,
it's
what happened to it?
Yeah, I remember Stephen Jones was asked about this, and I believe that the answer was that he still, it still counts as the first year of his deal. It's not like they get a provision. If you're suspended, it pauses. Like that's why the Randy Gregory is we still have him another year because of how much time he's missed. But with Jalen, I think he's just considered a regular roster member, just injured. Because if you had a guy in a contract year and he gets injured, he's still going to be a free agent,
Concurrent. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, so we got to actually pay the man because I don't want to see Jalen going to another team. I think that he's just not getting his legs up under him. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I had a couple stats here. I was crunching numbers just to give some specifics earlier on the run game the last 2 weeks when they've put together this win streak now, get the first road win of the season, and now the first back-to-back wins of the season. The last 2 games, Zeke has run for 273 yards with 6.5 yards a carry on average.
Yeah.
At Atlanta, he had 201 total yards, and at Philly, he had 187 total yards. So they're putting everything together, and even though they're not really throwing downfield to him like we saw that in like the Detroit game on one play, they are throwing to him more. He's got 6 and 7 catches respectively the last 2 weeks, and they are making him a more dual threat option in that way, even if they're not lining him up out wide. And as a result, you're seeing him have a more complete impact on the offense, and I do think that's one of the things that's been going right here lately. It's allowing him to stay involved, and when he's the real engine behind the whole thing, the offense works better.
Yeah, so he accounts for so much out there, and we saw catch a little 2-yard pass, and then the first person he see, he gonna drop his little big head on him and get another 2 yards. So I like that.
I actually think he's playing with more bursts lately. It feels like the last couple of weeks, I feel like he's playing better than he has, and that's not to say he was terrible before, but he looks like he's running almost angry the last couple of weeks, and it reminds me of the young, hungry kid you saw in 2016 a little bit more.
That's what I like to see too. And as long as he can be the future guy, if he can stay healthy, I'm knock on some wood, man. But if he can stay that way, we can see some growth with this team altogether. He kind of reminds me of, I think they used David Johnson a while back, the Arizona Cardinals, passing him the ball and being a run threat, dual threat out there.
Yep.
And the only thing is now I would like to see a little bit more from Rod Smith, who we're going to see this week out there, taking advantages of the running lanes. I think that what would benefit this team, believe it or not, is another short spat back, like a
scat back.
Scat back. Yeah, my mind is all everywhere. Scat back like a what's his name? Dunbar.
Lance Dunbar?
Yeah, Lance Dunbar, a healthier guy, some change of pace. Because not shooting shade at number 45, it just looks like he's just slow out there at times.
Yeah, he's there. There was a play too in the Atlanta game I can think of, and I don't mean to armchair quarterback it and nitpick, but there was definitely a play where his blocking was setting up where if he bounced it outside immediately, I felt like he would have gotten more, and he tried to cut inside and then spun outside. It looked like a nice spin, but if he had gone outside initially where his blocking had leverage, it felt like he could have gotten more instead of just the spin and kind of get like a yard or two. But I mean, that's just that I don't think that their running styles complement really well. You don't really have the quote unquote change of pace, I guess. But I mean, he's got talent. He'll probably, I don't know. Is he free this summer? I kind of think he is. If so, he might be, getting a gig elsewhere. because Dallas isn't going to invest in a backup running back at this point.
Yeah, because we see two of the same things. We see
not an expensive one.
Yeah, expensive one. When I look at Jameis Olawale and I look at number 45, I'm saying, same guy.
I'm still waiting for them to do something with Jameis. Yeah.
I saw motion him out wide. And I was like, this is the fullback now.
Yeah,
motion out wide. And
I didn't in college and 75-yard touchdown last year with Oakland.
Yeah, so I mean, there's ways. There's a will. There's a way.
Yep, for sure.
Yes. Any other topic you got on the docket? On the docket?
I mean, there's of course the heartbreaking thing with Michael Gallup and his family that we discovered. I didn't talk about it on the page or anything like that because, I mean, even though it would just be kind of putting it out there, like just to let people know and everything, like just posting it as like the news. I didn't like the idea of it like getting liked or shared. It felt dirty kind of. So I was like, oh, I'll bring it up on the stream. And by then people will have probably heard about it anyway. So it sounds like I don't know if it was older brother or younger brother. I just have heard brother, but it sounds like during the Atlanta game that his brother committed suicide, which is, horrible and everything for that. You feel for the guy, obviously thoughts and prayers out to him. I do know he is away from the team right now. I don't know when he'll return. I don't know if he's playing this week. I haven't heard on that. But it'll, obviously family comes first, and this is bigger than football. It's one of those things. The statement I pulled up here from Jerry Jones, I'll read that real quick. It says, "Our team and our entire organization are deeply saddened by the news of Michael's loss. His family is our family. We share in the grief and pain that comes with something so personal and tragic. We offer our support, care, and comfort for Michael, and we ask that all of those who have sons and daughters and brothers and sisters join us in keeping Michael and his wonderful family in their thoughts and prayers." So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say on this. I just kind of wanted to touch on it because it is something of significance, but at the same time, it feels like something that's bigger than football and that we don't really want to delve into. You want to give the guy his privacy.
Right, and that is a tragic situation to happen. And it says no one knows the day nor the hour.
Gotcha.
And then on top of that, you never know what a person is going through off the field or
everyone's got their own battles they're fighting. We just don't know.
Yeah, so we just don't know, and that's why I said time is the best thing that we can ever have on this earth. Is just spending time with each other, spending time with family, and if you guys have a loved one that you have yet to speak to or talk to or what have you, just give them a call and just say, "Hey, I was thinking about you today." You just never know how that can just open up so many
any act of kindness or attentiveness really goes much further than you know. I mean, it might take just a second, and it can brighten someone's day if they're having a hard time or struggling with some things that you might not even know about. You might not know the lengths to which it brightens their day. So just something to think about there. But we can pivot back into a more football topic on that. We mentioned earlier Alex Smith, his leg, nasty break. Very reminiscent of the Joe Theismann injury. Broke his tibia and fibula. I had to try not to flip those because everyone always trips those up. Tibia and fibula on the play. It looked like his ankle at the time, but it sounds like just lower leg basically. And he's out for the year. Obviously, they don't think it's career threatening, so that's good for him. But in the meantime, we got Colt McCoy coming to town Thanksgiving. But the thing is, I actually think their offense might be a little better with Colt McCoy because I think Colt McCoy is better. Their line's not providing great protection, and I think Colt McCoy can work a little more with that perhaps than Alex Smith has shown in recent weeks. And again, they were 6-3 at the time, so I don't know. I don't want Cowboy fans thinking like, oh, we got it now, this is going to be a cakewalk. Like, no, you got to go to war. It's a division game as well. So you got to go to war, and you got to be willing to lay it all out there. You can't come in kind of coasting and expect good things necessarily. So That's something to keep an eye on for sure. And they also signed Mark Sanchez as Colt McCoy's backup now.
Come on, Mark, bring him in. But
hey,
Colt
he lit
McCoy,
us up. He lit us up on Thanksgiving in the past. Don't forget.
yes. And then on top of that, Colt McCoy, believe it or not,
Yes.
can have a Nick Foles effect to the
Yep.
to the Washington Redskins. So
Certainly could.
He certainly could. And I said, I was on Mark Holmes' page. Shout out to Mark Holmes. I was saying that Colt McCoy was the first Baker Mayfield out there. You know,
Don't speak such blasphemy.
I have to say that.
There's only one.
But you know, he elevated Texas, the Longhorns, what have you, you know, and his family will be there. Friends and everybody going to be up there. They may be in the press box. I think they were last time. It was a Thanksgiving. Was it a Thanksgiving game?
You talking about when Colt beat us?
Yes. Was it 2014?
No, it was
Monday
14.
Night Football game.
Monday
or
Night
something.
Football. Romo got knocked out, came back, but then he missed the next week against Arizona with the fractured process in his back, and that was the Arizona loss, which was pretty ugly. And then the next week was London.
What I can remember, it was a primetime game, and
Yes.
he turned it up. The difference will be that this defense can get at you. You know, they're going to bring the pressure, and everybody, they're not going to play off man. They're going to play man-to-man tight. So the windows of throws going to be right there. And I just hope that since he may just have that gunslinger mentality, maybe he try Byron Jones, and maybe Byron can get home on one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they counteract that. The defense has to continue playing big. They haven't had many duds this year. You would look at the Tennessee and say that's the only one where a team outperformed its typical stats. Even in their other losses, for the most part, you've had them. They've pretty much held the team to like whatever their average is. The Titans game was the only one where a team has gone just significantly above and beyond their normal numbers. And the Titans were
what was that number again for third down? 11 for what? Or what
on the Titans game, it was 11 for 14.
Right, so that's not going to happen with Colt, right? McCoy. Yep. I don't know. The only thing that would get me about this game is, like you said, with Alex Smith, we know what we kind of know what he's going to do, right?
Yeah,
he's going to.
He won't turn the ball over very much, but he's not a guy that scares me. I don't know that Colt McCoy is either, but hey, he's beaten us in our place before, so who knows? Man, they've got a good defense, so it's still going to be on the offense to put up points. As we mentioned before, the running game is working. That's opening things up for other aspects as well. Dak made some great throws down the stretch, and I see John Davis here in the chat mentioning why our coaching staff likes to settle for the long field goal in end-of-game situations. Because they have no confidence in the offense, I guess.
Let me ask you this, DDP.
Yeah.
It's right before halftime. It's 8 seconds left on the clock. I'm going to ask you. It's 8 seconds left on the clock. You got a timeout. You just recently passed the ball to Ezekiel Elliott. What would you do? You got 8 seconds left on the clock. You have timeout.
Where's the ball spotted?
At the 40.
At their 40?
Yeah, or I guess, at their 40, yeah.
Okay, so 8 seconds, ball at the 40. We have a timeout. What would I do in that scenario? If the ball's at the 40, you're in too long a field goal range anyway. I know Maher's got the range, but with how he's kicking lately, I don't feel super confident.
I mean, it's on our side of the 40. It's on
our side of the 40.
Okay. My bad.
Okay.
Well, a little bit beyond that, kind of close to the midfield range.
Yeah.
You know, right at the 50, basically.
Man, that's a good one because Dak's best passing is over the middle as opposed to hitting the sideline routes. That's where his accuracy is not as good, so you can't run like a double out. I mean, you'd like to see them try and push
you got
the
a
ball.
timeout? You had a timeout?
Yeah, you got a timeout. You'd like to see them maybe push the ball a little bit or even get Zeke out there in some way, some kind of leak out for Zeke. I don't want to see any kind of screen because those rarely work for us. We've seen them execute them, but they run them so often, especially the little one to Zeke or a check down when nothing else is there. So that's a tough one, but I definitely want to see the offense be a little more aggressive in that situation for sure. I mean, you don't want to be completely over the top with it, but at the same time, you know, we talked about Garrett settling for the field goal against Houston and why that why that was a mistake. Or sorry, not settling for the field goal at Houston. Houston, he'd even attempted, even though it was within range for Maher. And then it was the Washington game, the first one, where he basically had like 40 something seconds on the clock and ran like 2 plays or 3 plays. And basically it was just like, nope, we're going to settle for like a 47-yard field goal. Like, what are you doing? At least try to go for the win. And I was feeling shades of that in this Atlanta game, to John's point here in the comments. I was feeling the shades of that, absolutely, because I was sitting there looking at it at the end of the game as we're trying to set up Maher. Last 3 plays we run, we have a timeout, and the last 3 plays we run, 2-yard Zeke, 2-yard Zeke, 2-yard Zeke. All right, now kick a 42-yarder. Like, come on, man. Like, what saved us? Careful, but geez.
What saved us really on that was the fact that Atlanta Falcons didn't have a timeout left, and and they couldn't ice the kicker. So at that point, I think that the coaching staff was like, "Look, we're just going to burn this clock out, get it to 3 seconds, kick the field goal, and everybody go home." And, eat ice cream.
But think of it this way. I mean, what if you had a disaster again like the Washington thing where you get backed up 5 yards? Now you're kicking, a 47-yarder, and we saw how the kick barely snuck through. I think Maher's rattled right now. Maher, I mean, he going into that kick, he had missed, or was it going into the game? He had missed, I think, 3 of 5 kicks at one stretch there after his streak of 16 consecutive. And I think he's in his head. And, he missed the extra point, although further review, I think that was more the hold than it was the kick. But, I mean, the game would have already been over if that hadn't happened. So I think that gets in a kicker's head. So when we were setting up for a 42-yarder from Maher, and I'm like, you're not even going to try to get, like, at least closer. You know what I mean? Like, if not, because it felt like the offense was moving. Dak on that drive was making some really nice throws. Over the middle there to Zeke, a couple plays where he was moving within the pocket, hitting Cole Beasley as well. Right. And they were moving. And then it was like, all right, slam on the brakes, run into a brick wall 3 straight plays, and then we're going to kick for the win as time expires. Like, why?
Why? What's going on with this? And then on top of that, Maher, he is, I think, 4 for 5 for 50-plus field goal kicks, 50 yards plus. So I guess if it's in the 50 and beyond.
The miss was the Washington one.
Yeah, the miss was the Washington. So and he missed a few other kicks that were kind of closer. So it was kind of like, wow, what's going on with this guy? We're missing Dan Bailey of 14
of
old, yeah.
not current Dan
not
Bailey.
Current Dan Bailey. So we used to be able to go say, okay, it's field goal. Let's go grab some popcorn. Let's go re-up. Let's go, call some friends or something, let them know about the score. But nowadays we're sitting at the edge of our seats and we're sitting there saying to ourselves, please just make the kick. Bounce in somehow. Please just make the kick. And I think this is what's going on. Shout out to David Alexander for making another donation to help grow the nation. Appreciate you. And also Young Wilson and Incognito. Appreciate you guys for being the mods, for helping out, regulating the chat box over there. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Let's see. We got Tavion Wallace, Brett Bender, and Eric Anthony in the house. Shady back. John Davis, as I mentioned earlier. Salute, guys. I see Gleh in the house, and Joseph as well. What's up? Candelaria, what's up?
Yes, indeed. Thank everybody for tuning in to the nation. Don't forget Cowboys Experience. That's www.cowboysexperience. Check that website out. We got tons and tons of information for you. We have an event. I'm just recapping of everything we talked about today. We have an event Wednesday from 2:30 to 4:30. We'll be at the Lava Cantina that's in the Colony in Plano. I would love to see you guys out there. For those who come out there to the event, just let us know that you heard it from Law Nation or from D Dallas Prospect, and we got a free book to give you guys from Emmitt Smith. It's one of his memoirs, one of his highlight books, what have you. I wish you guys can come out and get that book. And on top of that, we're live on Okoye Media's page, Voch Lombardi. That's where the party at. We as well as on D Dallas Prospect. Every legend was once a prospect, right?
Absolutely.
And we are live on Cowboys Experience. The people that's on Facebook, I'm not able to get to all you guys' message, but trust me, After this show is over, I'm gonna go over and read each and every last one of you guys' comment, and I'm gonna try to reply the best of my ability. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. DDP, what else you have in your mind before we wrap this thing up?
How do you feel about Philadelphia getting curb stomped effectively by the Saints? 48-7, I believe is what it was. Biggest loss by a defending Super Bowl champion ever.
Ooh, hold on. They just threw a bomb and this guy Hill, whatever his name is, Tyreek Hill.
Oh, Tyreek Hill, yep.
He just caught a 70-yard, but I see a flag on the play. But how I feel about this the Eagles team having the Super Bowl hangover, my thing is they missing Blunt. They missing Ajayi. People failed to realize last year it wasn't fly Eagles fly. It was run Eagles run. They was third overall in running. And I believe they played a more controlled football. The defense was a little bit better as far as the corners. And that's how they were winning. And then a lot of people just wasn't
Their secondary is a mess.
Right. It's garbage right now. So I think that team maybe have to regroup next year. I heard this morning Stephen A. Smith believed that they can still be like the NFC East champs. But I just don't see a team like that that's depleted on the cornerback side of the ball and then can't find a ways to run the ball, just turn this thing around. I just don't see it.
No, and I think that at this point, because the Eagles, I'm trying to remember, I don't know the rest of their remaining schedule off the top of my head, but I want to say, Dallas and Washington are the two in the driver's seat. The Eagles are still in the race mathematically, but I feel like it's going to be tougher for them to overcome it. I think Washington, in light of the Alex Smith injury, and they've had some other injuries too, maybe they fall off, and that's where the Eagles can kind of get back into the race, and it becomes Dallas and Philadelphia. But we'll have to see on that front. I don't know. I look at the Eagles this year, and I just don't think they have it. Last year's team, I mean, they were really, really good the whole year. Even before Wentz went down, even after Wentz went down, they had like a 1, maybe 2 week blip at the end of the year, the first 2 Nick Foles starts before they turned it on in the playoffs. But it was a different team. They don't look like that team this year.
They don't. And then also Carson, although his numbers, somebody was saying that, well, it's comparable to his MVP type of year that he was having last year. But no. Carson Wentz is exposed now. One could argue this right here. The Saints defense, yeah, is cool and all, but he telegraphed his pass. He was pointing to one guy, and he passed the ball directly to the guy for the INT.
Yep.
So it just seemed like Carson himself regressed in a way, and I know he don't get the hate that the Cowboys Nation like to spew out and point towards Dak Prescott. Not saying that Carson Wentz is better than Dak Prescott, but I think that he himself has regressed in a sense.
I think he's regressed, but I do think he's a more natural passer than Dak for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean he was in the thick of the MVP race. He probably was going to be MVP last year before his injury.
Right.
And to Dak's counter argument, Dak was at least in some discussions for MVP in 2016. I mean,
right.
Now people are probably going to be pissed at me for saying that or thinking I'm making that up, but there were some discussions where they're like, yeah, this guy is definitely rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, but should we be talking about him in this discussion? And there were people saying like, oh, maybe it's not crazy to at least throw his name in there. It's not saying he's winning.
Yeah, one of my stat guys over here, I just like to call him stat guy, Young Wilson, said Carson had 155 yards for 3 INTs. Can you imagine?
Against the Saints?
Yeah. What they would say to Dak Prescott, how they would try to crucify him. They'd probably hang him upside down on the cross, man.
Yeah.
for having the 3 interception for 155 yards, man. Come on now. But, we will see because we're going to have to face the Saints, but one can argue that it's going to be at our home opposed to playing down there in the New Orleans. So.
Yeah, the last few games, Dak's actually been throwing the ball better in terms of his overall yardage output. He had 208 against the Falcons. I think the week before with Philly, I'm looking it up now, but I want to say he had something in the neighborhood of 270, 280. Let me see. Dak had 270 against Philly. I want to say he had until the Atlanta game like 3 or 4 straight games with like 270 at least. and then he goes for 208 there. So by his standards, he's doing better with the ball. His problem has been fumbles as of late, more so than interceptions.
Correct.
But I mean, that we saw that even in 16, if you recall. That was the one of the big knocks I had with him personally. In 16 was I felt like he had a tendency to fumble the ball, whether it was getting stripped or just whatever when he was getting hit. So we'll see on that front. But he is coming together a little bit more, I think, in this stretch run here. I think he is a guy who, as a rookie, he was the guy that made the big play in the big moment. And for a lot of the last calendar year, if you look at Atlanta 2017 to 2018, through a lot of that stretch there in the middle, he was the opposite. He was the guy that didn't make the big play in the big moment. He made the big blunder. If you think about the fumble that ends the Carolina game, the late fumble at Washington, the fumble in the second half against Tennessee, that effectively moves that from a tie game to them never getting back in the flow of things because Tennessee goes up by 7 at that point, and then another 3 and out, Tennessee goes up again. It was the opposite of that for a while, but the last couple of weeks things are moving in the right direction, and I feel like he's doing a better job protecting the ball.
Yes, indeed. And just looking back, I agree 1,000% with what you're saying. Just looking at this score, as much as I love offense and as much as everybody loved the game, LA Rams versus the Kansas City Chiefs, 37-40. That wouldn't happen again. That could not happen against the Cowboys for several reasons, because when we get the ball, we're not doing that much passing. We're running the ball. It's more of a balanced game. And I just don't see that these two teams, although they're lighting up the scoreboard, they're not going to the Super Bowl. You can't go to the Super Bowl with that type of no defense being played. And I just have to say that. History will show that these type of teams, although they look nice and they look beautiful out there, but when it get cold, out there, it just things change. You're just not going to put up 40 points in the air, 37 points in the air. I just don't see that. And I'm not hating against these two teams. But
neither of them are defensive juggernauts. They're offensive juggernauts. The Saints have some ability to play defense, but it's not consistent. And the Chiefs are definitely like they're going to try and run up the score and beat you that way. And to their credit, both these teams are one loss apiece right now, maybe two for I think for Kansas City. I'd have to look that up. I haven't, obviously with them being in the AFC, I don't watch them as closely.
They both got their record down there as 9-1.
9-1. There you go. So,
and these type of teams is that the Patriots will find a way to beat.
I said teams. Saints earlier. I meant Rams. My mistake.
Yeah. What's this? Saints 9-1.
I said Saints. I said Saints by mistake. That game already happened.
But
I was still thinking.
It's good Nintendo game right now, 40-37. But
I see that.
It's just a crazy score right now. But with all that being said, man, any final word? Just a turnover right there, another touchdown.
There you go.
Oh, wow. 43 something now.
Jeez.
Final
thoughts here. Obviously we got a quick turnaround. We got the Thanksgiving game up, as you've plugged a couple times. We got the Cowboys experience Wednesday. Get a chance to come out and meet and greet with some of these Cowboy players. Who we got in the house again? It's Jeff Heath.
Right.
It is. Do you have the list in front of you?
Jeff Heath, Rod Smith right now.
Smith. That's right.
We got another not quarterback, but another player that may show up into the mix too. We will report that out. But we do know for sure we have Lincoln Coleman, Sherman Williams, Drew Pearson. So those are guys with hardware.
So yeah, we're definitely gonna have a good time out there. We're gonna do a show out there. We'll be patrolling around and getting some footage, but we're also gonna set up and do basically our preview show. Then it's a short week, so we got a quick turnaround on that front. So we're gonna hook you guys up with that. And for our post game show, it's probably gonna be a little later on that, just because of the holiday and everything. I got a travel day I got to factor in and all that. But this is where the season gets really interesting. Joe Looney, that's the other one.
Yeah. Oh, Joe Looney gonna be out there?
Joe Looney's there. Yeah, I just checked Barry's post.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so Joe Looney's also going to be there.
Jumbo Joe, we're going to have some fun then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah.
I'm going to tell Joe, man, I'm going to try to tweet him and say, dress up as Zeke, man. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, bust out the 21 jersey for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Honky tonk or something like that. Shout out to those who made contribution to the page. Jordan Reed, David Alexander, the Great, and also Young Money Wilson. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and also my my mods, Incognito, Young Wilson, all you guys, man. Thank you, Miss Jackie. I saw Miss Scouting Pro out there. Thank you for tuning in, Regulating 2 as well. John S. Everybody, Andrew Castillo, Brian Bradford, those who've been following the channel for a long time, is always a plus. Kerry Teagle, Jamal Anderson. I'm not talking about the Dirty Bird Jamal Anderson. I'm talking about the Jamal Anderson, live like 95 Jamal Anderson. Let's get this thing going one way or another. This is Law Nation, and that over there is one of the infamous. I'm talking about the baddest guys out here, DDP. Go ahead and tell them, man. Tell them where they can find your station and all this sorts of things.
Yeah, man. Check out the Dallas Prospect here on YouTube. We just recently hit 1,500 subs, so we're growing pretty quick considering where we were not too long ago. We've only been at it for about a year. Mavs content's blowing up there too. So
Luka, hey, let me ask you this quick question.
Yeah.
Who's more important to their team, or who's the rookie of the year in the Dallas area? Is it Luka or is it LVE?
I'm going to say, because of the head-to-head, I'm going to give it to Luka at the risk of inciting rage, only because Luka is going to be like the league-wide rookie of the year, and he starts every game. LVE's got 5 starts. The fact is, LVE is going to probably win defensive rookie of the year with like 7 starts, which is kind of crazy.
Right.
But yeah, definitely both are critical to their teams for sure. But yeah, so check out the Dallas Prospect on YouTube. Subscribe. We're going quick. Put out a bunch of graphics and everything. Those quote blocks on Facebook, highlight clips, sharing those on Facebook and Instagram. You can hit us up on Twitter as well, at Dallas Prospect or at DDP_journalist. And keep an eye out as well. I write the staff writer for Cowboys and Mavericks on the Dallas Sports Fanatic website. And I've had a good string of articles getting picked up lately on Bleacher Report too. So keep an eye out. You can find me in a lot of different places.
Man, that's what I'm talking about, man. That boy's lighting it up. DDP, man. Hey, it is what it is. Hector, shout out to you, as well as JR. Thank you, Gigi and Gracia, everybody. That's all the time we have for this wonderful night. I thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the bass. Salute.
Also, every legend was once a prospect.
There you go. Yes. Except Deion Sanders, right?
No, he's a prospect too initially. You got to start as a prospect and then you upgrade to legend.
He said he grew up, he was born a legend, huh? That's what he told me.
That might be what he says, but everyone's got to start as the prospect at some point, even if they might not in their own mind be the prospect.
There you guys go, man. Check out his website, The Dallas Prospect, man. Yes, indeed. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to the nation. Yes, we out. Yes, indeed, man. That's a good show, famo.
Yeah, absolutely. Good show, man.
Yes, indeed, fam.
Oh, man.